be the glory. It's your boy, Dr. JC Howard here, and I am the voice of the culture. Welcome to Voice of Culture TV in partnership with Hope Nation TV. We're just so grateful to really be bringing you this midweek content, some content that is absolutely imperative. We're engaging so many different people from so many various fields of in terms of career, in terms of profession, and it's exciting. It's exciting today because I have one of House of Hope Macon's very own, one of Macon's very own, Macon, Georgia, and certainly House of Hope Macon, Hope Nation's very own, Dr. Conrad Miller. Listen, y'all, this is Voice of the Culture TV. I need you to do me a favor, share. Make sure that you're sharing this stream right now. You have no idea who it might impact, so please share the stream so that somebody can be empowered, somebody can be educated. But I want to jump right into our conversation today, and like I already let you all know, that we have Dr. Conrad Miller with us, who by profession is a medical doctor. He has his own practice right there in Macon, Georgia. Many of our parishioners are his patients. He has patients from all over the city, all over the county. Very well respected, beloved brother. He represents the black and gold. The gold part is good. The gold part is good, but I would prefer another color to go with. If you don't know what I mean, another color to go with the gold. But no, he is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and he's just a phenomenal man, a father, a husband, just a thoughtful brother. He works in our media ministry as well, and so I'm just so grateful for you, man. I need all of Hope Nation and all of Voice of the Culture Nation to just help me celebrate Dr. Conrad Miller. Welcome, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Pastor. How are you doing this afternoon?
Well, man, I'm very well. I'm great. I'm just grateful to be on with you, and I'm just really excited about our conversation today because everybody wants to know. We're talking about what everybody's talking about. We're talking about some things that people want more information on, and that is why you are with us today, because we are talking about the vaccine. COVID-19 has ravaged the world, not just America, but it has ravaged the entire world. It literally knocked the world off of its axis almost. And we have been situated in a pandemic. We've been stay at home, and we know some of those restrictions have lifted. They've been lifted here in Georgia, but you know, we're still practicing social distance, and I think people are COVID-19 exhausted. I think that we are very exhausted, and people want answers to some of the questions, particularly as it pertains to this vaccine. So before we jump into our conversation today, just tell us a little bit about yourself and really what makes you passionate, because what you do is not just a profession, but it's a ministry. It really is. And so I just want you to kind of give a little bit of background about yourself and tell us what drew you into medicine, what made you passionate about what you do.
Okay, thank you so much, Pastor.
Yes.
I've kind of always been interested in medicine. I guess I was always kind of a technically minded or a scientifically minded individual. But there was just an incident years and years ago when my father had a workers' comp injury and kind of bounced from doctor to doctor and kind of had all these kind of negative experiences with one physician saying that the accident caused the problem, and someone else saying, well, this could have been pre-existing. And, just kind of the way it ravaged the family. So, to me, the take, even as a young person, even as a 15, 16-year-old, was that there had to be a better way, and there had to be involvement of people that looked like us in the healthcare process to take care of people that look like us. And one of your brothers in the purple and gold was our family physician, gave me my first stethoscope, and I just kind of said, well, maybe that's the direction to go in, because I had been thinking about law before that, and I had been thinking about some other things before that. But then I started thinking more about medicine, and it's been a journey, and I was blessed to get into Mercer University, so I stayed for undergrad and graduate school here in Macon. And then I went away to Tallahassee, Florida for my training. And I ended up meeting my wife there, my future wife there. And, that journey continued. And I did 9.5 years of rural medicine down in Twiggs County, a very underserved area. 10,000 person population in the county back when I was there. And a lot of those people, a lot of those patients still come and see me today. So I've been their doctor for 23, 24 years.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So, I mean, it was really a childhood experience
Yeah.
with your father and with your
Yes.
family that led you to medicine.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Exactly.
That's absolutely incredible. I want to jump into our conversation today, Dr. Miller, because this is what everybody wants to know. We want to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, the vaccination that is being, what I would like to say, I think it's being distributed very well. I think that the Biden-Harris administration is doing very well. Now, you still have state by state, you have state kind of guidelines, but just in terms of making sure that there is vaccinations available, that they're getting down to the states. Biden, of course, he's ahead, of course, he's ahead of his schedule.
Yeah.
He wanted 100 million done in his first 100 days, and we know that he's gotten close to 100 million done, and it's not even halfway through. He's not even, I don't think even think to his 50th day. So, shout out to the Biden-Harris administration for keeping their word and doing a good job with the distribution of this vaccine. Now, here's my question for you. Here's my first question for you on today. I suppose we need to discuss, we're going to get to the sentiments around the community, how the community feels about the vaccine. But let's go ahead and address that.
Okay.
Why are certain communities, especially the Black community, why is there such a hesitancy to receive the vaccination? Why are there, we have these conspiracy theories going around and different things like that. Could you really help us understand why in our community, now we do kudos to the individuals who have gone to get vaccinated, and you're doing your part and you're still socially distancing, but you wanted to make sure you were taken care of. But what do we say to those who are skeptical of the vaccination and are hesitant to get it done because of various reasons? Could you please address that?
Sure. Well, certainly, we live in America, and we know of America's history of second class, third class, fifth class treatment of every person of color, but especially African Americans.
Yes.
So any African American ought to have, at least for a half a second, ought to have that doubt, that second of doubt. But then when you look at the facts, how the vaccine is distributed, how the vaccine is given, there's not like two bottles and one, you get one bottle if you're Black and one bottle if you're white. That multi-dose bottle, they pull out 10 doses out of it, and the next 10 people in line, Black, white, Asian, Native American, whatever, they all receive it equally.
Okay.
And so, there's no way, if this was supposed to be some bizarre plan to poison a certain population, they don't have a way to administer it in a way to affect that population. Mm-hmm. So again, I know it's a new vaccine, and I had those thoughts for a second. Wow, this is new. But in our lifetime, in the lifetime of your parishioners, the polio vaccine was distributed in the 1950s, and as you said, we've got all these mothers of the church, that were young women in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. They received version 1.0 of the polio vaccine. We're just receiving version 1.0 of the coronavirus vaccine, and as time goes on, if this disease is now part of the environment, if it becomes like the flu.
Right.
We might be getting more versions of this vaccine as time goes on.
The same way like the flu shot.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or like when I was in medical school, and the pneumonia vaccine, it wasn't new, but it was relatively new at that time in the late 80s, early 90s. And again, after 20 some odd years of practice, the rules for how you administer the pneumonia vaccine have changed at least 10 times.
Oh, wow.
So when I was a medical student, they said once in a lifetime,
Mhm.
unless the person was super young and had lost their spleen due to an accident. And then they said it was a different protocol for that. And now they say, well, if you get it at a certain age, you get one dose. If you get it at a certain age, you get both doses.
Yeah.
So it continually changes.
Right.
And
Right.
basically, that's because science is always evolving. We learn new information and we adjust what we do accordingly.
Indeed. Indeed. So let me follow that question up with this. We know that there are three dominant vaccinations available now: Pfizer and Moderna, which I got my first Moderna shot last week, and Johnson and Johnson
Yes.
now, which is one shot, and you don't have to go back for a second shot. I want to. The follow up question is. Would you say, with everything that you just said, we know that why our people are kind of hesitant, particularly with the ways in which African Americans were targeted in the past,
Yes.
Tuskegee, and so many other U.S. Army, U.S. military, different tests and stuff that were rendered on African Americans medically that left us in certain kind of predicaments. So we know that historically it's tied to that. But I think that our hesitancy now is kind of wrapped into some of the conspiracy kind of theorist manipulations that are concocted online and so on and so forth. But do you give your stamp of approval? Is the vaccine safe for any American to take? Number one, is it safe for us to get this vaccine? Do you put your stamp of approval on it no matter what version of the vaccine we get? And connected to that is there a certain brand that we actually should be trying to get? So should we be trying to get Pfizer versus Moderna, or Johnson and Johnson versus Pfizer, or does it not matter?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, from all the information I've seen, read, as a person who has no financial interest and only a medical interest in the vaccine, I believe they're all safe. I've taken the Moderna Moderna vaccine, excuse me.
Yes.
That's what everybody in my family and all the staff members that have elected to, that's what they have all received, is Moderna. I do believe that Pfizer is equally as effective, and apparently from some new testing, seems like it might be one of the favored ones for younger people, for kids.
Okay.
I'm blessed and thankful to say my daughter has received the Johnson & Johnson today at her college.
Yeah.
So that was a couple of hours ago, and she texted me right before you and I started and said she's feeling fine. And since that's the one shot, I won't have to worry about her for this remaining 2 months at her college.
Mm-hmm.
So, then that was something, my wife and I decided, let's go ahead and do this, because otherwise, as a parent, I was going to just go up there and make sure she got it someplace. But the school took care of that for us and asked our permission, and she's handled that. So from every piece of data that I've seen, these three vaccines that are approved in this country are safe and effective. Of course, there's still some scuttlebutt about the AstraZeneca and what might or might not happen with that.
Right.
And of course, there are a couple of other companies that are trying to produce those, and we'll just have to judge those when there's more data out.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So you hear that, people? You hear that, America? You hear that, people? I have an African-American doctor sitting with me, and who has his own practice. And he has he has given his sign of approval with all of the research that has been done that the vaccine is safe to take. It's safe to receive the vaccine. Go ahead and get vaccinated. I think that I support the vaccine. I got the vaccine, got shot right here in my left arm. My arm was sore for about a day and a half. But that was it. And I didn't have any other kind of, but you spoke about something with your daughter.
Yes.
With your daughter, you said she just got the Johnson & Johnson. So shout out to her. And she's in college right now. And so double shout out. But you kind of talked about she feels fine and so on and so forth. And I just did the same thing. I feel fine. And I think the reason why we're saying that is because we've heard from other people. We've heard
Right.
of the stories
Right.
where some individuals have received the vaccine and they were down for a while. They might have had some reactions, some side effects, some kind of flu-like symptoms, or
Right.
some people not as strenuous as others. So could you address that at this time? Because I think a lot of people have questions about how am I going to feel after I get the vaccine? I don't want to get vaccinated and then I get sick and I might as well just not even got vaccinated. And so could you address that, please?
Sure, sure. Well, vaccines, because of course you're introducing a foreign substance into your system, and it's designed to create an immune reaction. So it actually, in the case of this vaccine, it actually codes for something that looks similar to those spike proteins that you see as the little rays that emit from the circular coronavirus cell. It makes a protein that mimics that so that your body can recognize it. So those people that feel poorly, you're actually having a reaction because your body's trying to recognize this foreign substance and make antibodies to fight it. And so that's why you feel poorly. Whenever you get a large number of antibodies being released, it's kind of like friendly fire. So they're learning how to attack the vaccine, which is making those proteins. But sometimes good tissue, unaffected tissue, gets caught in the crosshairs.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have the aches and the bad feelings.
Gotcha.
And it differs from person to person. I had no reactions to my flu shot this winter, but in the past, in years, 5-6 years ago, I did feel a little something, some kind of way.
Okay.
And that's just because, well, they make a new flu shot every year. So
Mm-hmm.
this is version 97 as opposed to 1.0 for
Right.
the coronavirus.
Right.
I had a tetanus shot in November. Again, no side effects, but I've had 10, 15 tetanus shots in my lifetime, and it's version 30,
Wow.
of that particular vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's your body's natural reaction to the reaction that's taking place as your body learns to make the antibodies to the coronavirus. And some people just have a more pronounced reaction. Some people have less.
Right. Right.
I think you also kind of asked which vaccine might be best. I don't think there's one that's best per se,
Okay.
but there are those that might be best for the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my kidney transplant patients and patients on the transplant list, their transplant centers in Augusta and Atlanta have been suggesting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine for them.
Mm.
So, and that is something that you can request. And I think for the ones that have actually received transplants, they're going to probably go back to Atlanta and get those. Of course, now that some weeks have passed, there are Johnson & Johnson shots available in Macon, or there will be. So those people can get covered. And of course, since the Moderna vaccine, has more stringent storage requirements, is probably a better vaccine to be administered in a big setting like a hospital, because like a small office, like my office, couldn't afford the freezer that's safe to store it.
Gotcha.
So as the state is actually trying to roll out vaccines to smaller practices like mine, they probably won't be offering me the Moderna virus vaccine because my freezer can't get cold enough to store it.
Wow.
They'll probably end up offering me one of the other two.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's not just the actual the way the vaccine works. It's just all the little individual requirements. I mean, the Pfizer and the Moderna are very similar, except for the storage requirements. The Johnson & Johnson is a little different, and of course, it's a one-shot deal. So that is
Right.
That does make it easier for someone who might have some other illnesses where they can't afford to feel sick twice, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And it is more recommended again for the individuals that are on transplant lists. There's some suggestion that it might be better for people that have previously had COVID, because there is often a reaction after you've had COVID and then take the vaccine later.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can imagine. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm not in that number. But
Exactly.
I'm glad that people who have had COVID are getting vaccinated, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that it's different. And you're 100% correct in regards to what I've gathered in terms of information from people who got vaccinated before I did. And some felt some kind of way. I didn't really hear much about people much to do with people after they got the first shot.
Mhm.
But after the second shot, some people said I was down for a few hours, I was down for a day or whatever. I felt some aches and this, that, and the third, but I was fine the day after. And so that is what gave me the confidence. Then I talked to some people who didn't have any reactions at all after both shots. They got both shots and they didn't have any kind of reaction. And so that is why after gathering that information and talking to people that I knew who had been vaccinated, I felt comfortable being vaccinated and getting the vaccination. And, also after doing all of my research and following everything that's been going on. So people, listen, you need to just kind of stay informed as well, because even after you get vaccine, we're still not out of the woods. You still have to take proper protocol. And so just go to just go right to your search engine and just type in CDC. If you type in CDC and click on that screen, everything will pop up from the CDC, all of the guidelines and where we are, who's in this wave of vaccinations and all of that kind of stuff. The good thing is a lot of states, including Georgia, I think now, Dr. Miller, you can confirm this, but a lot of states are starting to open it up to the younger population. Is it 16 and up now, Dr. Miller?
Yes, that's correct in Georgia.
In the state of Georgia.
Yes.
It's 16 and up right now. So go to the CDC or check your state guidelines to see if you're now available. That's another thing that you brought up, Dr. Miller, with kind of the vaccine that might be better for young people, because I know some individuals are wondering, what about my children? Do I need to worry about getting my children vaccinated? Do I need to get them vaccinated at some point? We know it's not particularly open for children yet, but except for children in special cases,
Right.
But do I need to get my children vaccinated as well if it comes down to it being open to them?
I think when all the recommendations are in for children of all the various ages, that if your child falls in an age that is recommended, that yes, you should do so.
Okay.
But definitely for these older teenagers, like your daughter, for example, if she was here with you, then yes, we would go ahead and get her vaccinated as well. So anyone in that 16 and up range, regardless of whether they're in high school or college or out working. And I've had that discussion with young patients even this week. You're a senior in high school and you're this age, go ahead and get this done so that you can just have it knocked out. Because if you're going to college in the fall, some teenager, they're going to be asking for it. That's going to be one of the requirements, just like all of their tetanus and all these other vaccines.
Wow.
That's going to be a part of it for the fall. So that's why my daughter's school went ahead and just did it now, since it was available, and just the connections they had. They just went ahead and just squashed everything.
Yeah. So I received the Moderna vaccine. So is Dr. Miller. I know people who got Pfizer. My best friend in the world, he got the Pfizer vaccine. He's fine. My mother and my father just recently went and got the Johnson & Johnson. They said, hey, I don't feel like going back for another shot. We just want to get that one shot and keep it moving. So vaccines are available. The lanes are opening wider and wider for you to get your hands on the vaccination. So we would recommend, I think, that you sign off on that, Dr. Miller.
Yes, indeed.
That we would recommend that you get a vaccination so that that your immune system is built to handle COVID-19, albeit we don't want it to come your way, but nevertheless, if it does, your body will be prepared for it. Yes. And so that is absolutely imperative. And I thank you, Dr. Miller, for the information you shared. Now, I want to close like this. I want to close our conversation with do you think that Okay, I'll frame it this way.
Okay.
Is there and I know this is going to be difficult for you to do because I think that everything it shifts, right? And so we're since this pandemic started, we've kind of lived week to week to see, okay, what's going on now, and what should we do, and how can we move. So it's been a fluid process. We've been kind of just adapting as we go. But is there any way, or is it possible that you might be able to give us any kind of timeline or time frame, especially with the reports recently coming out that we may be on the brink of a fourth wave, and that cases of COVID-19 have been going up in America after several weeks of them declining? Is there a way that you might be able to give us a timetable on when life as we knew it prior to COVID-19 might be a reality for us?
The bad news is each time I put one of those timelines in my head, I keep pushing it back. So I've pushed it back multiple times. I'm already in extremely late this year as to what I'm thinking. And that's from a variety of things. I mean, it's clearly from the news.
Sure.
It's clearly from the possibility of a fourth wave. I'm concerned about the variants, and I'm concerned about new variants when we talk about people at the All-Star game, people in Miami for spring break, Florida dropping restrictions, Texas dropping restrictions, Georgia, we might be close, just kind of based on the leadership we kind of are stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm really concerned about is some variant that we have not seen as a result of a partially vaccinated population and another population that's just wide open. So I think we've got a lot of unknowns left, and that's what's really frightening.
Right.
So what I'm really imagining is a life that looks kind of like normal, except everyone's wearing masks. So
for a while.
Yeah. So hopefully the kids will be back in school, people will be working, you'll be getting food from your favorite restaurant, but it's probably going to be two people in the restaurant and everyone else is going to be doing curbside. Is kind of what I'm imagining. And I think it's going to take a lot longer if some of these activities that require mass crowds, like concerts and any kind of spring break activity, things like that.
Right.
Those are the things that I think set us back. Certainly, church services in the parking lot, pull up and praises, Easter egg hunts, things that are outside, those things are great. And we're thankfully approaching that kind of weather, but things that are in a closed environment, again, the concert, any kind of nightclub, any kind of bar activity, things that young people, things that millennials and all would like to do. I mean,
right.
It's not gonna bother me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be at home.
Right.
So I don't envy someone that's 25, 35, and single, because they don't want to sit at home and feel like they're wasting their life away.
Right. So we can understand the struggle, particularly after you've been sitting for a year.
Yes.
And you already sacrificed the year, sacrificed the summer, sacrificed the spring break. Some of us, some sacrificed graduation ceremonies, and so much has been sacrificed and missed. And people, like I said, we just have COVID fatigue. I think that people are just kind of burnt out. People are tired of Zoom meetings. People are tired of all of these kinds of manifestations as a consequence of COVID, and how it's kind of displaced us in many ways. And so, understood. We just saw the spring break season in Florida was insane. It was insane. When I looked, it didn't look any different from any other year. In fact, it looked more crowded. And I think it may have been more crowded because of the lack of being able to go anywhere for several months or even almost a year. And so I know my little brother is, in his 20s. And with the flights being low and it's cheap to travel right now. Resorts are giving you crazy deals. Mm-hmm. Young folk are like, shoot, I'm jumping up on these. Now, thank God he's careful and he tests regularly and he thinks he's safe. But still, there's always that element of there's always that element of not danger, but the possibility of coming in contact and exposing yourself. That element of exposure is what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. So to get us up out of here, Dr. Miller, we know we've established that according to the research that you have done as a medical professional and somebody that oversees, somebody that serves many patients, that the vaccination is safe, and that people that we would recommend that people go ahead and be vaccinated. And if they are hesitant, to ask some questions, maybe they can even contact you, and maybe we'll leave your email information so that if anybody comes across this and they say, I want to talk to Dr. Miller myself, they can shoot you an email, and you can kind of you can give them some assurance. Okay. But with that all being said, how can we, even in this season of COVID, I think that a lot of people have become more conscious, a little bit more health conscious. People have been a little bit more, this shouldn't have to be taught, but unfortunately, more sanitation conscious. Yes. And so with that being said, what can we do in our ordinary everyday lives to better all improve our immune system? So that, not just to fight COVID, but anything that we may come in contact with that will strengthen our immune systems to be able to fight viruses or anything foreign that enters our bodies. What are some of the things that we can do to be a little bit more healthier and more conscious in that regard?
Okay, glad you asked. Definitely at this point in time, I have to say it, even though it should go without saying that vitamin supplements are great. They don't actually treat it or heal any type of condition, right, but they are great as preventative measures, because these are basically cofactor type chemicals that your body uses to do its various processes. Mm-hmm. So vitamin C is a great antioxidant, and I've kind of recommended it, and other physicians, as we talk on our Zoom meetings now, are also recommending lots of vitamin C. I personally do 1,000 milligrams about twice a day of that. Okay. Vitamin D is also an antioxidant, and lots of African Americans are low in vitamin D. First of all, we're all working inside, right, so you won't get it from exposure of your bare skin to sunlight. And some of us are lactose intolerant, so those are the main ways of getting vitamin D, or dairy products and exposure of skin to sunlight. So right. Work inside, don't do dairy. Darker skin as a natural sunblock usually equals a young adult past 25 or 30 is possibly vitamin D deficient. Mm. And of course, milk is not what it was when I was a kid. So right. It's skim milk. So the vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. It gets skimmed away when you produce skim milk. Wow. So a vitamin D supplement is a good idea. And I've definitely seen individuals that had COVID, and I had previously tested them for their physical, then they had COVID, their vitamin D level drops. So the vitamin D is trying to protect you, but if you actually end up with COVID, you're going to deplete it, and you're going to need replenishment of that. Gotcha. So vitamin D, 2,000 international units in that gel cap. Not the hard tablet, but it's the liquid gel cap. Right. 2,000 or so international units of that a day. Some days I pop 2 just for good measure. Mm-hmm. I'm also doing turmeric capsules and vitamin B6. Okay. That's kind of my cocktail. But Lots of fruits and vegetables. If you don't like fruits and vegetables, then make a smoothie or go to one of the smoothie stores and get one of the green smoothies with lots of kale and spinach in it, and they'll mix up some pineapples in that and some other fruits.
Right.
And it's still sweet. It's naturally sweet because they usually don't add artificial sugar. It's usually just the sugars from the juices.
Right.
But something like that a couple of times a week, but try to get in some dark leafy vegetables, some good quality brown rice, some brown bread, brown toast, none of this bleach, none of this white stuff.
Yeah, whole wheat.
Yeah, whole wheat.
Gotcha.
With the actual nourishment within it.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of water, more rest, lots of hand washing. Pastor, did you notice how few flu cases there were this winter? Because everyone is washing their hands and wearing a mask. I mean, I think I saw
the airport. I went through the airport not long ago, and I had, and I'm not trying to really target. I had never seen so many of our white brothers washing their hands after they.
I have a story. I'm not going to share it on a venue like this, but
I had never seen so many. I was just like, thank you, Lord. I mean, our prayers have been answered. At least something good comes out of this.
Yes.
But wash those hands, man. And that's going to be something that is going to be, hyper conscious in the future, going into the future. People are going to be, carrying hand sanitizer with them for the rest of their lives now. You know what I mean? Versus the way that we were just a little bit, not saying that people, I think that I think most people, wash their hands after they use the restroom, before you eat, stuff like that. But, we're like hyper conscious now in regards to like, after we do anything, it's like, let me get some of this. We use it like lotion. We use hand sanitizer like lotion. It's the new lotion.
That's right.
So, we just got to be conscious, man. But you've been absolutely awesome, Dr. Miller, man. I'm just so grateful for this discourse. And we just tried to really hit some of these questions that have been floating around in the web universe. We would try to just answer them head on and say, okay, here's what the deal is with the vaccination. Here's why our community is generally hesitant, but we're in a different place. There's a lot more minorities that work in the creator of the vaccine.
Yes,
is an African American woman.
Exactly.
Who got her vaccination live. She has admonished. It's a sister, and so I think that we need to kind of buckle in, and we need to just do the safe thing, do what is necessary to not just protect ourselves, but the people around us and the people that we love, particularly young adults that are going back home, for spring break and this, that, the third. You're visiting your parents, your grandparents. You need to protect them. You want their protection as well. And so I just really thank you, Dr. Miller. Where can we find you? Where can we find you online, Twitter? What is your, give us your social media handles.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got MFP Macon at Gmail as the email that you asked about.
Okay.
Of course, I'm always on social media, and there is a MFP Macon website on Facebook also, which is the practice Facebook site.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's what's up, Dr. Miller. Well, thank you, sir. I love you, man. You hold a special place in my heart, man. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful for all that we've done. Voice of the Culture TV. Y'all already know what it is, man. I appreciate everybody locking in, and I appreciate y'all subscribing. Make sure that you subscribe. Subscribe to the House of Hope Macon YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Voice of the Culture YouTube channel so that you can continue to get some of this relevant content that I promise will make you into the best version of yourself. I want to thank my special guest, Dr. Miller, one more time. You are the man, sir, and I appreciate you for all that you do, and all of my people out here connected to Voice of the Culture, all of Voice of the Culture Nation. We appreciate you. Stay locked. Next week, it's going to be an absolutely insane broadcast. You do not want to miss it. Same time, same place, right here. Voice of the Culture TV. Peace.